When RuPaul's Drag Race finally launched its long-awaited Philippine franchise, Filipino drag was put to the spotlight. Everyone cheered for Minty Fresh's looks, admired Eva Le Queen's attitude, and sang along to Turing's iconic verse in Pop Off Ate. And of course, who can forget the legendary final lip-sync between Marina Summers and Precious Paula Nicole? But if your knowledge of Filipino drag ends there, then you're missing out on a whole lot of fabulous history, or should we say, Herstory. So just sit back, grab your favorite drink, and relax as we take you on a colorful tour of Filipino drag. What is drag in the first place? Well, getting in drag usually means dressing up as another gender. But aside from dressing up, drag also involves makeup, mannerism, and performance. We know that in drag, men can dress up as women, but women can also dress up like men and be known as drag kings. Women can even just exaggerate their own features and present as drag queens. The same goes for men. The entire point of drag is to just break down the barriers of gender and have a great time doing it. Actually, the concept of drag has been part of Philippine culture for centuries. Babaylans were well documented throughout the Visayas region, and they also had their Tagalog counterparts called the catalonans. They were essentially priestesses who were very well respected in their communities, second only to the datus. While primarily composed of females, they also allowed men in their ranks. These men dressed and acted just like their female counterparts, which shows just how progressive pre-colonial Philippines was when it came to gender. This practice of dressing up and performing as another gender continued even during the Spanish, American, and even Japanese colonial eras. Crispolo Pulong Luna was a well-known gender crosser during the American colonial period. He regularly rented a photo studio called Victoria Studios where he had his portraits taken while dressed up in barot saya and even Japanese kimonos. Slay, Queen! World War II was a difficult time for every Filipino, including drag artists. Walterina Markova was a burlesque performer who unfortunately was turned into a comfort gay by Japanese soldiers. In the year 2000, Walterina was portrayed by comedy icon Dolphy in the movie Markova, which brought his existence and struggles to the mainstream. Not much is known about other comfort gays, but we do know they existed and were treated inhumanely by the Japanese Imperial Army. As we learn about comfort women and join them in their fight for justice and reparation, we should also remember to include comfort gays in the narrative. Post-World War II, the Philippines was just a baby republic. At the time, Filipinos were trying to build the country back up in the wake of economic and political destruction. In the early 1950s, urban poor districts in Manila started holding their own gay pageants. This was done not just for entertainment and to boost people's morale, but also as an ingenious way to generate money. Drag became more mainstream during the 1970s, but it was known by a different name. Back then, the legendary paper dolls were known as female impersonators. They regularly performed in Manila's most dazzling clubs, wearing the most spectacular and eye-catching costumes. Composed of several performers, the group would put on world-class shows that made them seem like seasoned veterans even though many of them were only teenagers at the time. The paper dolls often impersonated international female icons like Marilyn Monroe, Liza Minnelli, Barbra Streisand, and even local superstars such as Pilita Corrales. At a time with no internet or social media, the performers still studied as much as they could about their chosen icons. They read up on each one's life history and watched their movies so that they could mimic the exact look and mannerisms. Because of the caliber of their shows, the paper dolls became famous all over the country, and even overseas. They were invited to perform in private events and even government functions. With their overwhelming charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, we can confidently say that the paper dolls paved the way for Philippine drag today. Today, the local drag scene is thriving more than ever, and not just in Manila. Local drag is also alive and well in provinces and cities outside of the capital. Each regional drag culture is influenced by local culture that makes them unique and interesting. The next time you go out of town and travel to a new place in the country, why don't you drop by the local nightlife scene and support the local drag artists? Not just in the Philippines, Filipino drag artists are also well known all over the world. Just think of Ongina, Jiggly Caliente, and of course Manila Luzon, all Filipino-American drag race contestants who make us proud to be Pinoy. Even if they primarily work overseas, these Filipino drag queens never miss a chance to promote their Filipino heritage. With how popular Drag Race Philippines and Drag Den were, many other local TV shows and web series started spotlighting Filipino drag, like Mudrukels and Drag You and Me. So many Filipinos who had no idea about drag, or maybe even those who had preconceived notions about it, are now getting introduced into the wonderful world of drag. The peak of Philippine drag is still yet to come. But despite all the glitz and glamour, we should remember that drag is still not widely accepted in the Philippines. In a society that's more tolerant rather than accepting of the LGBTQ+ community, the mere act of being in drag is already a revolutionary act. Let's face it, the Philippines still has a long way to go in becoming a truly safe space for the LGBTQ+ community. That's why just the presence of drag artists can be such a huge statement. While Drag Den introduced its drag supreme NAIA to a larger audience, the artist already had an online presence prior to appearing on the show. She used TikTok to dress up in full drag and debunk myths surrounding martial law. NAIA once said, "As drag queens, we do command so much attention, and I feel like that attention can be used for the greater good, and to further platforms and advocacies that we need in this society. As drag queens, maganda na nga kami, may advocacy pa." International superstar Manila Luzon also has the same sentiments. She said in an interview, "You look at the queens, and they are all fabulous. In drag, you command the attention of everyone who sees you. So we want to be able to use the attention we have to make people think. We like to challenge the norms. We like to show how we can express ourselves in extreme ways and inspire other people to do the same." So drag is political, but it is also fabulous. It's also silly, it's also glamorous, it's a lot of things. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. Philippine drag truly has so much to offer, not just for entertainment, but also as an art form and an avenue for protest. Philippines has such a long and colorful history when it comes to drag, but we still have a long way to go in destigmatizing this amazing art form. Who's your favorite Filipino drag artist? Don't forget to tell us in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to keep learning with us.